Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Garbage. My name is Eric Myers. If you didn't know, Mind Garbage is a show that I host every Friday where I talk to you about whatever I want for roughly 10 minutes, give or take. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. Just depends on the mood I'm in. Today, I wanted to talk about Star Wars Rogue One. Specifically, I didn't want to talk about necessarily the trailers, because what happened is a while ago, I filmed a video breaking down my thoughts on the very first trailer that came out and how much I really enjoyed it, and I was so excited to talk about it, and the video was all corrupted. So after about, give or take, 4 months of sobbing, irrational violence, and that sort of thing, I decided maybe I should just talk about the new trailer that's out now. And, well, the thing is, I love this trailer that came out. But more specifically, I want to talk about my feelings on the whole movie in general, and how I feel about it. So first things first, I am very, very excited for this movie. Almost more so than Episode 7. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. The reason why I say that is because when Episode 7 came out, or was announced and it was coming out and everything, it was really exciting because it was something totally new. Flashing forward 30 years into the future, we didn't necessarily know what was going to happen with these characters, who these new characters were, what was their story and everything. And to that degree, we don't really fully know anyways. But it was new, it was cool. When Rogue One was announced, I got somehow even a little bit more excited about that than this, because the thing that really excites me about just this look of this movie is the fact that it looks like it puts the wars into Star Wars, and it is in a time period where we know what is going to happen. For example, and stick with me because it's kind of a bad example, but whatever. It's a little bit like Titanic. We know what's going to happen. We know at the end of the movie the ship's going to sink because of the iceberg and everything, because this is a historical event. We know what happened. In the history of this universe, we know what's going to happen in Episode 4, technically the beginning of Star Wars in general, that the plans are going to get to Leia somehow, which sets her on to the adventure that ends up going on, later. But we don't know how that all happens. So that's what's really exciting to me in the first place, is that this is a period of time to me where you can really show the power of the Empire, because you see it a little bit in 4, 5, and 6, but it's, they're warring. The Rebel Alliance is starting to actually get a foothold on things and become, a sizable force. And then in Episode 7, they are still powerful, but they're definitely fragmented. The tide has turned so that the resistance against the First Order now is, it's a war, but this is so different, is that the rebels in this are going to be rebels. It is going to be a rebellion of people that revolt against the Empire, which is really, really exciting to me. One of my favorite things about this movie so far, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, is just the look of it. The look of it is so cool looking. There's a shot where it shows a Star Destroyer as it's coming out of the shadows from behind the Death Star. And that shot is so awesome. So freaking awesome. I love it. And the reason why is because there's something about it. I don't know if it was just the lighting or the cinematography with it, but it reminds me of Star Wars, like old, the original A New Hope, Star Wars, and Empire. That look of, it doesn't look fully polished, and that's something that I really appreciated about it. And one of the things that I thought was really cool about this movie so far is, poring over all the information that's coming out through it or whatever. I really, really like the idea of, I believe it's Donnie Yen, his character, that's the blind guy that believes in the Force and is Force sensitive, but doesn't really use the Force and doesn't have a lightsaber. I think that's really interesting to show a completely different side of the Force. The prequel trilogy kind of lost the way and tried to explain the Force, as it were, instead of it just being this mythical thing that is just there, like it was in 4, 5, and 6. So it's nice to see it kind of go back to, them not really talking about midichlorians and all that, and that this is just the Force, and this is someone that has a spiritual connection to it. And they talk about this planet that they're going to be going to, which, sorry, I cannot remember it. but it being sort of like the Jerusalem for the Force. And I think that is really, really cool. That's not something that we've really seen with the idea of the Force and everything. They get into it definitely, I think, in like the expanded universe and like the games and books and whatnot. But this is, for the first time, we're going to see essentially their Jerusalem, which is really, really cool. And, I mean, my hope for this movie is that there's not a single lightsaber that you see. We know Darth Vader is in this movie, which he could go through the entire movie and not even pull out his lightsaber. He could just pull it out, wave it around. Actually, my mind got sidetracked because I started thinking about him cutting a Wookiee, like in Force Unleashed. I was like, that's really sad. Why do you do that? But getting kind of back to what I was talking about is that my hope is that he doesn't use a lightsaber and he just uses the Force, and we see Darth Vader as this menacing sort of thing where you see two sides of the same coin, where you have this character who is a monk, almost shaman type character in the Force and very balanced, and then you have Darth Vader, who is the Sith Lord, the man amongst the men, as it were, which I think is a really super cool way to play with the Force in general without showing a single lightsaber, which I think is really cool. One of the things that I'm very interested in is just Jyn Erso, the character. She seems like, reminds me of Kyle Katarn a little bit from the expanded universe of, she is kind of like a mercenary, it looks like, and then that the rebels seem to have captured her. Oh boy. And that they're using her in order to, get these plans and everything. And there's that awesome shot of, which part of me I assume it's at the end of the movie, and I hope it's not, where it shows her walking on the catwalk and the TIE fighter is coming up, and she's just barreling down on it with a blaster, and that scene is super, super cool. One thing real quick that I want to say about this movie is I'm anticipating there's going to be a cameo from one Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, the reason why I'm saying that, and stick with me, all right, this is more of just, I'm kind of done talking about how I'm excited about this movie. I'm just now moving into my theories of it. Grand Admiral Thrawn has been recently announced that he is officially canon, at least in this new form of canon that they're doing. I see this as a perfect opportunity for you to introduce him as a player in the, Star Wars universe for this period of time. It seems like the perfect opportunity to me where, and this is in my head how it gets pieced out, that the bad guy that you see in the movie with the white coat or whatever and the cape or whatever, that obviously he is the one responsible for this. I think Darth Vader will kill him at the end of the movie and appoint Grand Admiral Thrawn to being Grand Admiral. Which, Disney, if you're listening, I know this movie's like a couple months out, but you still have time to do this. Go ahead. Do it. I believe in you. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you'd like, you can like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends, do all that fun stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at EricMyers93, link down below. And again, thank you very much for watching and letting me ramble about one of my favorite things in the world that is so very near and dear to my heart. And that's the Star Wars. So, thank you guys very much. And I will see you guys next week.